For the second time in my entire life, earlier today, I found myself crying over a piece of music, and after having some time to process this abnormal emotional response, I realized there were a number of discussion-worthy layers to this experience. So I was putting off my responsibilities, flicking through my phone, and something especially eye-catching came up. John Lennon and Paul McCartney's solo songs reimagined as Beatles tracks by fan using AI. AI in the music sphere is something I find quite interesting / terrifying, and I've also been fairly critical of people taking deceased artists' original recordings and modifying them, covers and samples aside. So this is something that I'm definitely going to want to listen to, and I'll probably have a fairly strong opinion on. So I hit the link, kind of anticipating that it's not going to be all that great. John Lennon's song Grow Old With Me comes up, but instead of being credited to John, it says it's by the Beatles. Now we gotta do a bit of a sidebar on the song itself. It's one of the last songs that John Lennon ever wrote in 1980, 11 years after the Beatles broke up. It's a simple, lovely tune about growing old with someone you love. John was killed before an official recording could be done, so what we have is a rough demo that was released 4 years after his death, and then in 1998, an orchestral arrangement was added to this recording by longtime Beatles producer George Martin for a re-release. And right now, I would absolutely love to play you some of this song, but YouTube is a bit weird when it comes to sharing other people's music, so what I have is a link in the description that'll take you to a video where you can hear part of this song first performed by John Lennon, and then that same part that's been AI-ified. If you want to quickly check that out, link in the description, or you should also be seeing a card somewhere up there in the corner. Now I'm going to take a quick second here to let you know that we're doing a little bit of fan appreciation over at my course platform, samuraiGuitarTheory.com. Over there, I have a number of courses that teach my system for making music, and today you can get my mini course, Pentatonic Mastery, free. This course is a look at everyone's favorite 5-note scale, how it works, why it works the way it does, and how you use it. Go to samuraiGuitarTheory.com, go to Pentatonic Mastery, and use promo code Beatles A.I at checkout, and you'll get it absolutely free. It's just a small way of me showing you guys how much I really do appreciate you. With that said, let's get back to it. So anyways, I press play, the song starts, and my first thoughts are, wow, the recording quality has been increased significantly. As the song progresses, more instruments come in that all sound stylistically similar to how the Fab Four might have played them. But then the first round of backing vocals comes in, and this catches me off guard, because it sounds like George and Paul singing them. I mean, it is just ooze, so you can't really get the full character of the voice, but it sounds pretty good. But then the bridge comes, and this is the big moment of the song. It's a deeply intimate lyric about growing old together. It's a soaring melody, but instead of John Lennon singing, it's Paul McCartney. And these guys hadn't sung together since 11 years before this recording happened. And when I hear this, like, I lose it. I start crying. The song finishes, and I'm going, whoa. Whoa, I need to think about what just happened here. So the first thing I'm trying to process here is, why did I just have that kind of reaction? I've only ever cried at one song before. When I was 15, I had a friend who passed away suddenly, and his favorite song, My Hey Hey by Neil Young, the acoustic version, is the only other song that's brought that kind of thing out of me. Something's going on here. So I go and read the comments section and realize that a lot of people went through the exact same thing. As soon as they heard Paul come in, boom, emotional wreckage. And this definitely ties into, you know, the term parasocial relationship? It's when you develop a strong one-sided relationship towards somebody that you've never met before, who probably doesn't even know that you exist, like a celebrity, a meteorologist, a YouTuber. I feel like I, and many others, have something within the parasocial spectrum towards the Beatles. I feel kind of weird about it, and I know it's odd, especially since they broke up 20 years before I was born. None of them did anything of real cultural significance in my lifetime, but still, I feel more of an attachment to those four men than I do of any other band. So this ties into something that I've been thinking about for a while now. The answer is most certainly multifaceted. The world had never seen a band like the Beatles before, and likely never will see a band like them again. The impact that they had on music was unprecedented. There is music before the Beatles, and there's music after the Beatles. And even if you're not a fan of what they did, the historical importance of this group is objectively undeniable. And subjectively, for a lot of us, their music is incredibly enjoyable. It's not just extremely catchy, but there's also a depth there that you often don't find in pop music. And I know for me, I grew up with my parents playing their stuff before I eventually rediscovered it on my own. So the music is hitting me in a bit of a deeper place. But while this music has been a part of my life for my entire life, over the last 3 years, man, I've sought a lot of comfort in the music of the Beatles. It's been a bit of a wild ride for the last couple of years here. I became a dad, had another kid, dealt with the whole pandemic thing, on and off again, generalized YouTube burnout, and I guess I just have found myself gravitating to that thing that brings me that source of stability, the Beatles. Overall, this job is great, but it's not easy. It can be quite lonely. In a lot of ways, I'm going through this experience by myself. The idea of having 3 musical, creative business partners that are almost like your brothers, like the Beatles had, is something that I find myself just deeply longing for. Through their music, documentaries, books, interviews, I get to kind of experience that relationship vicariously. And so, you put all that together, and I feel connected with this band more so than any other band. And when you care about something, you want it to get that happy ever after, even though we know that wasn't the case for the Beatles. They broke up in 1969. John and Paul were on the outs, basically only communicating with each other through angry songs they'd written about each other. In fact, did these guys write the original diss tracks? Man, they were changing music even when they hated each other. But even though John and Paul sorted things out in private, they never performed or recorded music again together. So the fans, we never really got what we wanted, that happy ending. And knowing that we'll never get that final John, Paul, George, and Ringo cheerful send-off, it's forever a hole that will be in the Beatles fans' heart. So when we do get that reunion artificially yet convincingly created by AI, well, it's surprisingly emotional. Our brains are not wired to deal with any of this. Rewind to earlier today, maybe 5 minutes has passed since I listened to the song. I've collected myself, and my next thought is, wait a second, how the shit was this actually even made? There's next to no information about the creator Daylim's process on this page. The only thing that we can find is simply the phrase, just over here creating, nothing is real. The latter sentence, of course, being a quote from the Beatles song, Strawberry Fields. Now, I don't have any inside information as to how he does this, but I'm going to offer my theory. First of all, there are a number of different demo recordings of the song out there, but I'm pretty sure there's only one that has George Martin's orchestral arrangement on top of it. So my initial theory was that Daylim's took this recording and then used AI to separate all the individual sound sources. This is technology that AI has recently made available. However, there are certain inflections on the vocals and different lyrics that appear in George Martin's version than there are in the Beatles A.I. version. So here's my new theory, and again, it's just a theory, but I think he used AI to separate all the individual sound sources, then added in some drum parts, some background vocals, and then he re-sung John Lennon's part, and then used AI to make it sound like John Lennon at times, Paul McCartney at other times, mix it all, and voila. This is technology that is starting to pop up in musical circles, though it's not readily available. I have seen it used by people who have lost their ability to speak, and then they use AI to perfectly recreate their vocal timbre from like a text to audio type of thing, and honestly, it's truly amazing how good it is now. So the technology certainly is out there, and I don't see why it wouldn't or couldn't be used in musical circles going forward. But again, I really don't know how this was made. I don't think it was as simple as write an algorithm, drop a song into it, and out pops a Beatles sounding recording. I think there was a lot of human touch, hard work, and creativity that went into it, and just huge props to whoever made this for getting it to sound so authentic. If my theory is correct, that does make the whole thing a fair bit less terrifying, but it also raises a fairly big question. The more I've learned about and experimented with AI, the more I'm convinced that there's something big a brewing, and it's going to change a lot of society. But what are the ramifications for music? I mean, specifically with recreating an artist's voice or sound, like, What are we doing about the copyright here? How do we feel about being able to use someone's voice as if it's an instrument that anyone can play? I mean, it's one thing to try and sound like your favorite singer, but I mean, at the rate at which this technology is progressing, we're not far from being able to record something and then make it sound like anyone. Press a button and now your vocals have John Lennon's timbre. Take this a step further, press another button, and now you can apply his inflections to what you sang. Is this okay? If an artist is cool with it, great. In fact, I would love to hear some of my favorite singers sing some of the songs that I've written. It's a dream come true, and if they're getting paid for their vocal license, hey, everyone's happy. But what if they're long since passed away? Is it up to their estate? Lover or not, I think John Lennon would have wanted Yoko to make these kind of decisions for him, so whatever she would decide would be fine with me. But with, say, Jimi Hendrix's estate, for example, that's run by his half-sister, who he met once or twice, and there's been a lot of infighting within that, so yeah, I don't know. I don't think she should be making that decision, even if it's legally what would happen. And to think we're going to be able to rely on existing copyright laws, stuff that's been outdated for ages, it's not going to catch up until this technology has run rampant. Here's an example of this that pertains directly to the subject of this video. Not long after I discovered that Beatles A.I song, the creator of it made everything private because he was unclear of the legality of the whole thing, which is why I can't link to the original upload. I can share the channel. There's nothing there right now, but these recordings are popping up around the internet. I think a lot of people underestimate this technology and how fast it's advancing. Remember, AI is never going to be worse than it is right now. And whenever this conversation happens, there's always people who say a computer could never create music like humans do because it will lack soul. Which leads me into my next layer. There are a number of musical characters that people refer to as soul that are actually quantifiable musical entities that can be accessed at will by the skilled musician. Let me grab my guitar and play a short example for you that invokes an element of soul. What I'm playing there, it's not magic, it can be analyzed. That big bend with the two strings, I think that's pretty soulful, but my theory for why is because you have two strings that are being bent a little bit differently, which means they're not really in tune with themselves, which gives it a rough grating sound, which sounds really nice contrasted with some nice clean playing. And then when you add some vibrato on the notes, lay back on the timing, change up how loud and quiet you play that, you get what would be considered soul. I'm pretty certain that one day AI will be able to copy better than any human ever could. But I'm not sure that AI could innovate. Innovation often requires some kind of star-crossed magic where so many things just happen to line up, leading to great music. If you stick 4 great musicians in a room, you're probably not going to get the Beatles. That's 4 very unique people who have an incredible chemistry with each other. But even besides that, the timing has to be perfect. The culture has to be what it was back then, or else it's completely different. The technology has to be exactly what it was back then, evolving alongside the band, or again, it's completely different. It has to be perfect for you to get the Beatles, and a lot of those things that led to that group are not things that I think you could write an algorithm for. Weird studio experiments, limitations, or accidents even can lead to places you never would have expected, or just something seemingly mundane happens in your life, like your kid coming home and saying, "Hey Dad, I painted my friend Lucy in the sky with diamonds," and then a song is written about it. These kind of things seem uniquely human to me. But AI is not going to be this monolith that's only used in one way. There will be really good things that come of it, and there will also be not so positive things that come of it. AI will certainly provide tools that a composer can use. Say I'm stuck on a melody, I could ask AI to write it 20 different ways and then use that as inspiration to get me thinking in a different way. If you take a highly skilled musician who knows how to prompt AI, they could use it as a tool to create some really great stuff, and I don't really see the problem there. This is something that I would have no issue doing myself. But what if we get to the point where AI can analyze a huge number of variables in a song, and then we feed it something like the entire Spotify library, and it pays closer attention to songs that have higher view counts or higher rated or have better critical reception? The expectations and guidelines in music theory wouldn't be that hard to plug in, and having trained this thing on such a huge database, this is going to be able to do something that no human ever could. And let's take this a step further down the sci-fi rabbit hole. And I'm not even sure the stuff is that sci-fi anymore, but imagine there is another AI that is able to look at all the data that's ever been collected on you. And there's a lot more data that's collected on you than most people know. I'm talking browser cookies, everything you've ever shared on social media, your phone analyzing all the stuff you've ever consumed, or your phone just collecting location data every place you go. Take the music AI, take the AI that's watching you, and it's not unfathomable to think that you could combine these things, press a button on an app, and it generates a song that is perfectly tailored to you. What's the impact of this on music, culture, society in general? For people like me, people like you, it won't have a huge impact. We formed our tastes, we know what music we like, but for my kids' generation who grow up with this technology being normal, what's it look like for them? What's it look like a few generations down the road? Does it just become a mainstay in the music industry, or is there a huge pushback where people learn to truly embrace the real? So to wrap this all up, let's go back to that Beatles A.I recording. And the question I keep asking myself is, how do I feel about it? And I really don't know. I generally don't like the idea of taking a deceased person's music and then changing the creative vision of it. When Zayn Malik re-recorded Jimi Hendrix's vocals over top of an original Jimi Hendrix song, I was very critical of it, and if I'm going to apply those same standards here, even though it's not apples to apples, I should be saying I'm totally against it. But that's not at all what I felt when I was listening to it. I loved it, I think. I know a lot of people had nothing but positive things to say in the comments section. I want to listen to it again, even if I know it's not real. Is this something that's just a gimmick that's exciting now because it's new and the allure is going to wear off because it isn't actually real? Or is this going to become a mainstay in the music industry? Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Again, I'm going to try to put up some links in the description so you can actually hear this song. I'll also try to make sure that those links stay working, but if it's not, I don't know, maybe try to help each other out in the comment section, because it's definitely worth hearing. And if you like what I do here, there's a whole bunch of ways that you can support the channel. I've got merch, a bunch of different designs, a bunch of different garments and whatnot over at shopsamuraiguitarist.com. If you want to learn my system for making music, I've got a number of courses at samuraiguitartheory.com, or if you just want to chuck a couple bucks in the old online tip jar, I've got that at patreon.com/samuraiguitarist. And yeah, your support goes a long way. If you want to check out another video like this one, hit that link up there. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, and stay tuned for a wide range of music-related content. Till next time, look after yourselves, look after each other, look after the planet, because I'm not sure that our AI overlords are going to. I'm Samurai Guitarist, and I'll see you again soon.